Just two things that I want to specifically point out, and then I'll stop. One of the things that I want to point out was his relation to America. When he was already back in Russia in 1867, just before he became Metropolitan of Moscow, he received a rumor that people were saying that he was against the sale of Alaska to America. And he wrote the following: "Rumors reach me from Moscow purports that I write to someone of my great unhappiness about the sale of our colonies to the Americans. This is utterly false. To the contrary, I see in this event one of the ways of providence whereby orthodoxy will penetrate the United States, where even now people have begun to pay serious attention to it. Were I to be asked about this, I would reply," and it's in detail, but I'm just going to summarize. 1, don't close the American vicariate, keep it open. 2nd, make San Francisco the center instead of Sitka, and move the seminary from Sitka to San Francisco. 3, make the American diocese directly subordinate to St. Petersburg, the capital, and not by way of Siberia, because it has totally other conditions of life. Number 4, bring everyone back into to Russia, except the church people who know the English language. Likewise, his company should be composed of those who know English. The next point was, allow the bishop to increase his number of workers by ordaining to the priesthood for our churches converts to orthodoxy from among American citizens who accept all of the church's institutions and traditions. And then the next one was, allow the bishop and all his people to celebrate the liturgy and other services in English, and to begin immediately the translation into English for this purpose. This is 1867, folks. And to use English rather than Slavonic and Russian in the worship and in the services, and have the instruction in the new school to be established in San Francisco to prepare the people for missionary and clerical purposes. That was his opinion about America. Also, there are just other things that I have, but we don't have time. I was going to read to you. Just one other thing I'll read to you. When he made the missionary society, he said missionary work is not just for the priests. And this is what he wrote in a report at a sermon in the cathedral in the Kremlin. This is what he said. Time has come that we, in all of our projects, abandon all foreign concepts of the church. And by this he meant clericalism, that only the priests do the missionary work. He said, and adopt instead the truly orthodox point of view, namely, that the church is seen to be in the orthodox people as a whole, the clergy being only her servants. Therefore, matters of faith and of the church must be considered equally important and necessary for the lay people as well as for the clergy. And then he has another thing I was going to read to you where he makes a big speech about how he has no trust in all the bureaucratic reforms in the Russian church of the time to do any good at all. And he was very disappointed that people were mostly interested in external and formal and legalistic things and not really interested in the heart of the faith and the pastoral and missionary enterprise. Now, there's a lot of nice little tidbits in his life also, how he met Nicholas Kasatkin when a river flooded over in Nikolaevsk. He met a young archimandrite from St. Petersburg, a kind of bohemian guy with, as he put it, a trunk full of French and German books. And the guy was looking like a bum. And so Innocent gave him this big speech about, you're going to Japan, and you remember there's Japanese people there too. And he went out and got some velvet material and sewed him a nice cassock so he would look nice for the Japanese and not like some kind of a bum. And he's told him, throw all those German and French novels away and start working on learning Japanese. And you may have known that this man turned out to be St. Nicholas of Tokyo, the Enlightener of Japan, who was canonized a saint 8 years before Innocent himself. So there's a nice little meeting there, how Innocent gave this speech to Nicholas, and probably created another saint for the church. In his lifetime, Innocent did not do any miracles. No wonder-working miracles that we know of. There's only 2 incidents that come close to it, both of which are mentioned in the church service if you were in Vespers last night. You may not have realized it unless you knew his life. Those Vesper verses are, if you know his life, they're understandable. But if you don't, I don't know who could understand what they say. But anyway, one story was that when he was going from Sitka to the Aleutian chain, already being a bishop, that they were in an incredibly terrible storm. An incredibly terrible storm. And it was for a week and they were sure that they were going to be crushed. And the story was told about him that he served a memorial service to Elder Herman, St. Herman, who was buried on Spruce Island. And then he ended by saying, "Holy Father Herman, pray to God for us and save us." And the minute that he said that, the storm stopped, and they made it safe to the Aleutian chain. And then the story was told that when he did that, he saw a vision of Herman in light, blessing him and saying to him, I will protect your activity. And so when he was asked about it, he said, "Yes, I did serve the Panihida. Yes, I did say, Holy Father Herman, pray to God for us." But he said, "But I saw nothing." So whether he did or whether he didn't, he said, "I saw nothing." The other one was where he went to an island, and there was a man on the island named John, a shaman, who was preaching a lot about Christianity, knew a lot about everything, and was considered to be a very holy man. And so when Innocent came there, he heard the confessions and all this stuff, and then after everything was over, he said, "I'd like to see this man who is so famous." So they said, "Okay, he lives up on a hill." So he went up to see him, and he recognizes him as one of the men who came to confession, and of whose confession he was very impressed, that such a man could exist on this, isolated island. And he began to talk to this man, and this man began to tell him all kinds of things about the Christian faith, about the Holy Trinity, about Jesus. And he is the one who prophesied that a man will come from a foreign country and will go back to his land and speak to a great man and return again as the pastor, as the governor of our people. And that was a prophecy about Innocent himself when he went to the Tsar and came back a bishop. But anyway, this John Veniaminov, he said to this other John, "Where did you learn all this?" And the other John said, "Well, 3 men come and teach me." And St. Innocent said, "What do they look like?" And he described them exactly the way the angels are described on the icons. You see, with a kind of robe and so on. And then the shaman said to St. Innocent, "Would you like to meet these men? I can call them and they'll come and you can meet them." And he said, "No thanks. I don't want to meet them. You just talk to them yourself, and go away." Then he wrote, in his usual fastidious way, he wrote a report to the Holy Synod, and it included this incident. And then he got a letter back and said to him, "You did wrong. You should have asked to see those men. And the next time you go back to the island, you say you want to see those men." So as he was making his tour again, he was getting very nervous because he was coming back to this island where the shaman lived. So he went on the island, served the prayer service, everybody gathered around, did what he had to do, and then he said, "Where is John?" And then one of the people said, "Oh, he died. In fact, today is the 40th day since his death. We should serve a memorial for him." And St. Innocent recorded, he said, "I have never served a memorial with more joy in my entire life." He said, "Because God saved me from having to encounter the 3 men who taught this guy the Christian faith." So he never did get to see the angels, and he didn't want to see them. And so he was like John the Baptist. It says about John the Baptist in the Bible, John did no sign. Well, John Veniaminov also did no sign. But after he died, of course, he probably did a lot of signs. One of them of which is we're right here now.